Hey everybody, welcome back to Kat's Kitchen. So here we are back and ready for some new recipes today. So today is going to be a special Valentine's Day edition. Whether you celebrate Valentine's Day or not, this is just something nice to make, for the people that you love in your life, friends and family. I'm going to be making a few different types of cookies today to pass out to them. So we're going to start off with some butterscotch cookies. And then we're going to be probably moving into making an oatmeal raisin cookie, and then a peanut butter cookie, and then lastly we're going to make a bark, which is just saltine crackers with a caramel on top. Then you bake that, and then you put semi-sweet chocolate pieces on top, and then you let the residual heat melt that, and then you smooth it out and freeze it. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I might have to break this up into 2 different days depending on how much time I have, but we're going to get this done well before Valentine's Day, which is next week. And then, because I want to have this published to you guys before Valentine's Day to give you a few different ideas if you like to bake around this time of the year. And then once I make everything and after it cools down, I'm just going to put everything in Ziploc freezer bags and store it into the freezer until I see my loved ones, and then I can give them all just a nice little treat. So here we go. And also this correlates with our pantry challenge as well, because there are quite a few ingredients that have been in my pantry that now it's time to get used up, and these cookies will definitely help that factor. So, all right, so here we go. We're going to get started on our butterscotch cookies. Alrighty, and I'll be sure to leave the recipes below in the description box for you, and I may be able to put them on our website for us as well, so stay tuned for that. So first we're going to mix together our dry ingredients for our butterscotch cookies. So first it's calling for 2 1/4 cup of flour. All right, then it's calling for 1 teaspoon of salt. Baking soda is 1 teaspoon. It's going to help them rise. Okay, and then I'm going to get a whisk and mix this together. After we mix this to combine, we're going to set this aside and then mix up our wet ingredients. That is our oven. We had to preheat it to 375, so it is all ready for us now. Okay, so this is good, so I'm just going to set this aside. Now, in our other bowl for the wet mixture, I have in here 1 teaspoon of vanilla already. Okay, and then we need 3/4 cup of sugar, and then we need 3/4 cup of brown sugar as well. Alrighty. My little scoop has a measuring unit on the side, which is nice. Okay, and then let's see, we have our vanilla in there, 1 teaspoon, and then we need our butter. Butter is 1 cup. This butter here, that's from Sam's Club, came in a 1 pound block situation. So what I'm going to do is 1 cup of butter is 2 sticks normally. So what we're going to do is just kind of cut this pound in half. So 1/2 pound would be equal to 1 cup of butter. And this has been sitting out softening on the counter for a couple days because I knew I was going to do this. So I'm just going to split this in half, and then I'm actually going to just kind of lightly cube this up a little bit here. This half to make it a little easier to work with, and then we'll put it right in our bowl. Alrighty. set this aside. We'll need it for our other recipes. Okay. So we need to cream the sugar and butter together with the vanilla. So for that, I'm going to use my little mixer, my little hand mixer. You can also use a stand mixer if you like. You can also just use, you can do this by hand if you wish. But because I do have the little mixer here, I'm going to use that. Alrighty. We're just going to cream this up on low. Alrighty, so once your sugar starts to go into the butter and mix all together like that, we're going to start adding our eggs one at a time, and we're going to mix low. We just want it to start to combine, and then we're going to stop mixing. So it calls for 2 eggs. So I'm going to pop our first one in here. So both eggs are in there now. I'm just going to take a spatula and scrape down the bowl to make sure everything is combined. Looks like it is. Okay, so next we're going to slowly add the flour mixture. And this bowl is a little bit small, so I'm going to switch over to my big bowl. I'm also going to clean my beaters off here. Make sure that that butter and sugar gets mixed in. Okay, everybody, I put our butterscotch chips in there. I mixed it up by hand. Now I'm just going to use my little cookie scoop, and I am going to spray this just so it doesn't stick too bad. Smooth, front and back. And I'm just going to, I have a piece of parchment paper down. I did spray it. I know a lot of people say you don't have to spray, but I'd rather be extra cautious that way. Not need it than need it. Just gonna space these cookies out here. Oven is preheated like you heard before. And these are gonna cook anywhere between 8 to 10 minutes. Alrighty guys, so our butterscotch cookies are out of the oven. I just sampled one and they are so good. I haven't had one of these in years. And just look how beautiful that is. That is so tasty. Love it. I don't like a lot of sweetness, so this cookie almost reminds me of, like, you definitely get the butter notes and it almost tastes like caramel as well. So these took, these ones over here took about, I think it depends on the pan that you're cooking them on, but the recipe called for between 8 to 10 minutes. The one tray was 8 minutes, the other one was 10 minutes. So yeah, definitely I would recommend these. All right guys, so next we're gonna be working on our oatmeal raisin cookies. Now, I normally put nuts in my oatmeal raisin cookies, and I have a bag of mixed nuts that needs to be used. I have all different kinds of nuts. I have almonds, cashews, walnuts, a little bit of peanuts. So what I'm going to do is just blend this all up together. We're going to blend it in just pulse it in our food processor. And we'll see how much this gives us. I might put a little bit on top of our bark as well. but this helps me to get that out of my cupboard and yeah, and help us to make something really delicious out of it. So I'm just gonna pulse this. Not too much because you don't want to end up making a butter out of it, but I want the pieces to be pretty fine. So I'll show you what I have here. And actually with all these nuts together, it actually smells really, really good. So I think this is gonna be really nice. My grandma always would put nuts in her oatmeal raisin cookies, so this reminds me of her. Okay, so I'm gonna use the same bowls as I did for the previous cookies just because we're working with a lot of the same ingredients, so it's not gonna be a problem. I will wash everything, however, after I do, when I do the peanut butter cookies, I'll have to wash everything, so. But these technically have peanut butter in them as well because there's some peanut butter in these nuts here, so. That is going good. So first we have 3/4 cup of butter in here. Like I said, this is our room temperature butter. Then we're gonna do 3/4 cup of white sugar, okay? And then we're gonna need 1/3 cup of brown sugar. It calls for light brown sugar. That just means it has a little less molasses in it than the dark brown. But honestly, if you want to use dark brown, or if that's what you have, you could probably do that pretty easily. I'm sure it'll just add a little bit more depth of flavor to your cookie. Okay. Alrighty, so we're gonna start mixing this together. Our oven is already preheated to 375 degrees for this. We already have our cookie sheets already with the parchment paper. So what we're gonna do now is beat the butter, white sugar, brown sugar in a large bowl until smooth, and then we're gonna beat in the eggs gradually along with the vanilla. And we're gonna need 2 eggs and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And then after that, we'll start our dry ingredients. For our dry ingredients, it's going to be 1 1/4 cup of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 3/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and we are putting the nuts in too, so it's going to make it a little bit salty. And then 2 3/4 cup of whole oats. I'm just going to mix these together, these dry ingredients. And then to this, like I said, we're going to add in our nuts. I'm going to see how, if it's too dry or whatnot, I may just add in half of the nuts I have. I probably have total about 1 1/4 cup of our nuts. just split that in half. So we'll put our cookie too dry for us. And then it calls for 1 cup of raisins. This is smelling good. Put that cinnamon in there. And then we're just going to gradually add the wet mixture, dry mixture into the wet mixture. Alrighty friends, so we are back here. I mixed the rest up by hand just because I didn't want to overmix this. And so we're just going to use the cookie scoop again, do the same method, 375, and they're going to bake between 8 to 10 minutes. And that also depends on how soft you like it. If you like them a little bit softer, you'll want to go for closer to 8 to 9 minutes. But if you like more of a crunchy cookie, you'll want to go a little bit longer. All right, everybody, so our oatmeal raisin and nut cookies came out of the oven. They took a little bit longer just because I wanted them a little bit browner. They weren't, I broke open this one so you can see it. And the bottom is nice and golden. So yeah, they needed about, I'd say 11 or 12 minutes. So here they are here, they're just cooling. I do not have a cooling rack. The reason why is I don't bake a lot, so I work with what I have. But as they're cooling down, I'm putting them into some Ziploc bags and labeling and dating them there. But they're really good. All right, so we're gonna go back and make our peanut butter cookies now. Okay, so our next cookie is going to be a peanut butter cookie. So I'm back here with my bowl. I just rinsed off all of our utensils, and I used nuts for my last recipe. If you notice, the first recipe I started out with had no nuts, and then, so what that was, our butterscotch cookies didn't have nuts in it, and our oatmeal raisin cookie had nuts, and then now we're doing our peanut butter cookie. So in between those recipes, we can just rinse out everything. All right, so this recipe is really, really easy and straightforward. So if you're gonna make a single batch of this, which I'm not, you're gonna see me either triple or quadruple this recipe. All you're gonna need, if you're making a regular recipe, which will make 25 cookies, is 1 cup of peanut butter, a half a cup of sugar, and 1 egg. Blend it together. All right, everybody, our peanut butter cookies are out of the oven. I cooked them for about, it said 8 to 10 minutes. And these are, I'll remind you, these are gluten-free cookies, so there's no flour in them. It's just our peanut butter, eggs, and sugar. I just tasted it, and it's really, really tasty. It is so good. It's not too sweet, just the way I like it. And, you know, nice and soft in the middle. And yeah, so this was perfect. I think I made these for, I want to say I took them to 10 minutes, but because there was no flour in there, oh, sorry, that's the timer. I wanted them to go for an extra minute or two just to like stiffen up a little bit. But yeah, these are like so perfect. See, if I squeeze it, it starts falling apart. So yeah, guys, definitely try these recipes out. Tomorrow, we're probably gonna come back and make our bark. So I will see you guys to finish up the video then. All right, everybody, we are back here. It is day 2 of our Valentine's cookie making. And what we are doing today is we're gonna make that bark I was telling you about. Yesterday, we had made, if you go back to see the beginning of the video, we had made our oatmeal raisin and nut cookie, our peanut butter cookie, and our butterscotch cookie. And they were all a big hit. I sent Mark to work with a few plates of them, you know, for his family, because he works, you know, with his family as well. And then for the workers there as well. So that was a good source of distributing the wealth and the love a little bit to people. So today we're going to be working on the bark. This is one of my favorites, so I'm kind of excited for this because it's kind of like a toffee bark. All it is, and I'm reading off my recipe here, is the recipe calls for 4 ounces of saltine crackers, 1 cup of butter, 1 cup of dark brown sugar, 2 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips, and if you want to cover the top of it with something, you can use, some people use like crushed up candy bars or nuts, and whatever you want. This recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup of crushed Butterfinger. I don't have that on hand, but I do have some extra nuts that we had from yesterday's recipe, so I'm going to sprinkle the top with nuts. So this one's going to be really, really tasty. So first, it says to preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start our caramel process, or like the toffee process. So we're going to have 1 cup of butter, 1 cup of dark brown sugar, or I'm sure you could just use regular brown sugar if you don't have dark brown. If you don't have dark brown, but you have a little bit of molasses in the cupboard, you can always pour a little bit of molasses in there to deepen it up a little bit. And I think that's what I'm going to do too. So let's start with our saucepan, and then while our butter is slowly melting, we're going to start lining our cookie sheet with parchment paper and then our saltine crackers. So here we go. Okay, so to our saucepan here, we have 1 cup of butter to 1 cup of brown sugar. Now I only have light brown sugar, so I am going to add in a little molasses because the recipe does call for dark brown sugar. And I'm going to add about 2 teaspoons. I have our burner on low right now, like a mid-low. You don't want to burn this. It's really, really easy to burn butter. So we just want to let our butter melt nicely. And then we're going to mix everything together. And then we're going to bring it to boil for 3 minutes. And then it will immediately pour it over our saltines. And then we'll spread it over the crackers and then bake between 5 to 6 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to let this start to melt. And then while that's doing that, we're going to bring our sheet pan over and start with our crackers. So our sheet pan here, I did get one with a lip around the edge in case anything would spill. I want it to all be contained. I did put our parchment paper down. Don't use wax paper because wax paper, the chocolate and the caramel will stick to it, and that'll be a big mess to try to get that off. So always use parchment paper. That's our oven. It's all preheated. And I did spray this as well, just because I don't want any problems with our toffee, because toffee is so sticky. I just don't want any issues with it. So I have our little crackers now. I'm just gonna pop a couple of these out. I'm not sure how many I'm gonna need to fill this pan. Let's see, it says 4 ounces, and this whole box is 16 ounce, so that would be a pound. Alrighty, so it wasn't like mixing in well enough, so I had to get the whisk out, and now you can see how shiny it is. So now we're just gonna let this come up to a boil, and the directions say to let it boil for 3 minutes. All right, everybody, so you can see here, our toffee is starting to boil, and when you stir it, the bubbles are still staying. I've set my timer for 3 minutes. I don't want this to burn. The last time I made toffee, it burnt, and I had to get rid of the whole thing because you just couldn't, I mean, the butter separated, and the flavor was just really, really bad with the burn. So I'm floating my heat right around medium here. So I took it down just a little bit. Like I said, just gingerly stirring it here. Don't want it to burn. And I don't even mind. I would keep decreasing the heat if I need to, just for this to make it for 3 minutes. And then, like I said, we'll pour this over our crackers, and then we'll pop this, and we'll spread it out, and then we'll pop it into our 400-degree oven. All right, our timer went off. That was 5 minutes. Oh, look how this is doing. Nice and bubbly. I'm gonna turn it this way so you guys can see a little bit better. Now what we do is we put our semi-sweet chocolate chips on top. And then the residual heat is going to melt them, and then we'll spread them around after about 5 minutes. Alrighty, friends, so here we are. We have our little toffee bark. It looks really, really good. And that was honestly so easy. As long as you watch the caramel really, really closely. I don't know if it's a caramel or a toffee. Let me know if you're more experienced with that down in the description box below. But as long as you're vigilant about not letting that burn, I think everything else was really simple. So it said next just let this cool down and then place it. You can either just let it cool down and then cut it up and eat it, or if you want it really, really solid, you can, after it's cool, you can put it in your freezer and then it'll be real nice and set together. And I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna let this cool down for about maybe 45 minutes to an hour, and then I'm gonna pop it in my freezer and let it harden up really well. And then, like I said, you can either cut it in bars or you can just break it up and eat it like that. So yeah, I'm really excited to try this and to show Mark too when he comes home. I think this is gonna be a winner. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you make some of these treats for the people in your life that you love the most, or even just friends, family, neighbors, anybody that you just want to share a little bit of love to. And you know, I just hope you guys enjoy this February, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye bye.